Hello crafties, welcome to another video. My name is Infinity and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to do the braid stitch. It's a fairly simple stitch actually, believe it or not. So I'm hoping this color is showing up fairly well on my camera. It consists of double crochets and puff stitches, and it creates this beautiful like lattice braided up zigzaggy type pattern with them, and I think it's so cool. It would look really awesome made up like on sleeves of a sweater, I think scarves, maybe even a bordering of some sort, I don't know. But without further ado, we're going to jump right into the tutorial. Alright guys, to begin this stitch, what you're going to want to do is create a foundation chain in multiples of 2, and that will determine the width of your project, but not necessarily the length of your project. So we are going to be like cutting off 5 of these chains in the beginning, so you're going to want to make sure that your project is wide enough so that it has some math working with it, but hey. Alright, so for today's tutorial I did a total of 18 stitches. Let's recount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, nope, I did 16. Okay, so with these stitches, I am going to just skip the first 5 chains. The loop on my hook does not count as a stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to double crochet into that 5th chain from my hook. Alright, so this can get a little fiddly, but I promise it gets easier. What we're going to do is we're going to work kind of backwards, and we're going to look at that chain right before the one we just worked into. And we're going to go back and we're going to work a puff stitch into that. Now puff stitches are fun because you can use your own discretion. I usually do about 5 wraps. And if you don't know how to do a puff stitch, I do have a tutorial for that back on my channel. So you want to make sure you're going to pull this up to height, and your tension is going to play into this. You don't want to make your stitches too tight because otherwise it's going to be really bad later trying to work back into them. So there's my second wrap, yarn over, there's my 3rd one, 4th one, and 5th one. And then I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull through all those loops on my hook, and I'm going to chain 1. Now, remember, we just worked behind that double crochet that we made. So maybe if I zoom in just a wee bit, can I do that? Okay, so remember, we just worked that double crochet right here, and this stitch is going to look almost empty, but it's not. You just have to kind of pull your stitches apart and look at it. We are going to skip the next actual stitch and we're going to double crochet in the one after that. So we're going to yarn over, insert your hook, and we're going to make a double crochet. And then we are going to chain 1, and this chain 1 makes it very easy to go back into this stitch that we just skipped, and we're going to create another puff stitch. Chain 1 to close that off. Alright, and we are going to repeat this process all the way across this row. So again, that is skipping this next chain. So you have to look very closely at it. It's not this one, guys. You have a double crochet there. It's this next stitch that we're skipping, and then we're going to work into the one after that with a double crochet. And then we're going to chain one, and we're going to work into that stitch we just skipped with a puff stitch. Alright, and we're going to continue this all the way across this row until we get to those last stitches, and I'll meet you back then. Alright, so I'm at the end of my row, and all I have left is this one little sad chain at the end, and we're just going to yarn over and double crochet there to finish off this first row. Now row 2 starts our repeat for the entire pattern. Literally a one row repeat. This is one of those pretty cool simple patterns once you get the hang of it. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to turn our work. And what we're going to do, this space in here counts as one of our chain spaces, so keep that in mind. And we're going to be skipping that guy, and we're going to be working in here, and we're going to yarn over and double crochet between those first 2 puff stitches, and then we're going to chain 1. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come back to this first space, and we're going to yarn over, and we are going to be puff stitching into that space. So you're going to want to make sure your tension is loose. Again, so you're not having a hard time working your stitches. If you need to use a bigger crochet hook, that could also remedy some of that tightness of tension. Right, yarn over, chain 1. Alright, now to work our next stitch, we're not going to work here yet. We're not going to work in between there. We're going to be working into the space after that with our double crochet. And we're going to chain 1. Then we're going to go back into that space that we worked our last double crochet in, so right here. And we're going to work our puff stitch in there. So the way I look at this stitch, it's kind of like a game of tug of war with your puff stitches, and it creates that nice offset zigzaggy type pattern in there, and I love it so much. 3, let's see, 4 and 5. I'm going to yarn over, chain 1. Alright, and again, we're going to skip the next stitch, the next space, I'm sorry, and we're going to work between the next space between those 2 puff stitches, and we're going to work a double crochet in there. Alright, and then we're going to go back to the space that we skipped, so back here, we're going to work our puff stitch, and we're going to do this all the way across the row. Alright, so I'm kind of at the end of my row, and all I have left is this last space between these 2 puff stitches and this space between this puff stitch and this chain. So what we're going to do after we completed that puff stitch, we're going to yarn over and we're going to double crochet in that final space on this row. Oops. Careful not to snag anything. And we're going to chain 1, and then we're just going to go back and work in between those puff stitches as normal. Alright, and what I like to do for an even edge is just yarn over and double crochet in the top of that chain 3. And that is the end of row 2. So what I may do is actually work up a few more rows, and I'll meet you guys back when I have another swatch. Alright, so I have done a couple more rows and I have another mini swatch. This one is actually more visible. Yay. This has been the braid stitch. Now you can either have your project like this and it look braided, or you can turn it vertically. There's my English words. You can have yours from a project to be oriented vertically and have it look braided this way as well. I hope today's tutorial was helpful for you guys. If so, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below. Let me know how I did. I look forward to making more content for you guys in the future. Speaking of more content, I am all over the internet. I have a lot of social media. I post different things on different places, so you know, all those wonderful spots are linked in my description below. Go ahead and check me out for just news, okay? I also have a Etsy store and a Teespring store where I post the things that I make, and as well as my merch, which also has some of my personal artwork on it, so feel free to check that out as well. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more awesome weekly content. I post crochet tutorials on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. CST. And until next time, guys, happy making!